This is a demonstration video of the Forest Manufacturing Model 204 heavy vertical blade traveling table bandsaw. This is kind of a special case today. The base of the saw was formerly my personal bandsaw. Model 204 uses two 20-inch diameter wheels. It's capable of running 1-inch wide blades, in some cases 1 1/4-inch blades. The fun part today is the table drive. We've discussed the controls before. This has our standard basic controls, gives you most importantly pneumatic blade tensioning. This has a fuse disconnect inside the panel, saw start, saw stop, blade tension and detension controlled here. So this has pneumatic blade tensioning. That's fine, don't leave it, it's fine. We have indications for a motor fault and a blade fault. So if you break the blade, if you don't tension the blade properly, if you're lacking air pressure, blade fault, and the blade won't run. Then we have a separate rank of controls for table forward, table reverse, and table stop. These are maintained, so push it and it goes, so you push stop, or it hits end of travel. And we have two speed potentiometers, one each for the forward and reverse directions. The logic there is that most of the time your operator is going to find some table advanced speed that works well for cutting. We try to dial the machines in such that you can get like 20–30% of your full speed is your good cutting speed, but then when you're returning to the home position after making a cut, you don't want to wait around, so you leave the return speed potentiometer at 100%. The difference on this machine is a table drive system. Most table drive systems we ship use a toothed timing belt as the drive mechanism. It has the advantages of being available in very long lengths, relatively inexpensive with a steel cord. They're fairly rigid. They're also insensitive to dust and misalignment. But for some applications, we have a need for tighter control of the table motion at low speeds or with heavy loads. So if we want a very precise speed control on a smooth running table, we instead use a gear rack. So mounted underneath the table, I've got the table surface dismounted right now just so we can see, and I'll pull the camera up, give you a view in a moment. But we have a gear rack mounted to the bottom side of the table, and then we have a gear reduction motor and a pinion gear under here. So we've got a motor, 1740 nominal RPM motor. I believe it's a 61 worm reducer, and then we tweak the final output ratio with a pair of chain sprockets. Second chain sprocket then in turn runs a pinion gear dialed into the rack here, moves the table. So the gear rack likes to be very tightly aligned. That works well with the goal here of having a very smooth, precise motion. So the table is supported on 4 recirculating ball bushings. Everybody knows them as the Thompson style bearings, but there's a dozen different manufacturers. The generic name is recirculating ball bushing. They run on a very smooth, polished round rail, and they're good for side loads, uplift, and they're very precise, very fussy. These are sealed, but at some point in 5 or 10 years, they're going to die just because stuff's going to get in there. But they're good for a good long life. They are sealed, they have wipers, keep the worst of the dust out, because of course, bandsaws are giant dust-making machines. Quick demo here. So the general operation procedure is start the saw. I like to start the table drive when I'm first dialing in a cut at 0. So I'll set the table forward speed at 0. Then I will press the table forward button. I really should have these cabinet doors closed. Then I will increase the speed. So this thing is dialed in really slow. I think we're set up as a maximum speed of 2 inches per second at 60 hertz. Right now I'm running at 4 hertz, so it's moving just very slowly, but very smoothly. I can dial it up to 100%, 60 hertz. You'll actually be able to see it moving. We have Mechanical arm limit switches at both ends as endo travel indication, so it'll go forward till it hits that limit switch, stops table motion. I can then stop the saw, bring it back. Now, it is possible that the eventual owner of this saw will find that the 2 inch per second is too slow for them. You have the potential to overspeed. The motor is an inverter duty motor. It's actually capable of running up to 6,000 RPM. So you can scale the output frequency from the inverter up proportionately and get this thing to run much quicker. The downside to that is your deceleration time from full speed will increase, so you have to allow a little bit more run. The limit switches are mounted on adjustable rails, so you'll wind up having to move the position in to start the deceleration process earlier, lest the machine run off the end of the rails. And you can't really hurt it that way. If you run off the end of the rails, just the gear rack gives up. But I'll give you a quick walk around now. I apologize. This is going to be motion sickness inducing for some of you. But I know the viewing audience at home wants some of the details. So, panel face. Panel interior. Beautiful quality welding work, the wiring work, the table drive, so kind of hard to see some of this here. So let's have a brief conversation about safety here, because it always comes up with bandsauce. So we will include a little knee guard in front of here, goes up to about here to block this guard off, keeping anybody from accidentally bumping the blade here. This is the potentially exposed or working portion of the blade. This machine does have an adjustable upper blade guide and guard. So you can lower this such that you're only exposing the portion of the blade you need to make your cut. The rest of it guarded. This also shortens the free distance of blade between the guides. Now, if you are potentially concerned about other pinch points due to the operating mechanism, you're probably wondering about the table drive mechanism. Oh, also on the acceleration. I have the acceleration profile set to go for 5 seconds to achieve full speed. That's a very gentle, conservative approach. You might find that you can accelerate to full speed more quickly than that. But I recommend you take baby steps. And when you do, also, again, monitor the position of your adjustable limit switches. Just because you can doesn't mean you want to run the table off the end of the rails. But pinch points. So the round rail, it's actually pretty hard to hurt yourself with these things. There's not a pinch point on these with the recircling ball bushings in the round rail. The gear rack under here, so the gear rack is teeth down. Do it that way so that dust falls out of the teeth, not into the teeth. But you do have a potential, I can get my hand down here into a potential pinch point if you're really concerned about it. The chain drive is pretty much covered by the table. If you work out, you can get your hand in there, so if you wanted to do some modifications, and we might do this ourselves, I guess, you could put a little enclosure around this chain, and that would be fixed, and you could put a little enclosure around the pinion gear. But you do kind of have to work at it to get under there and get your hand in that. Shipping. So we're going to break this thing apart. This will go with 3 pieces. We'll have the main saw head. We'll ship as a piece. The table drive mechanism here is bolted onto what we call a lower leg extension. We can remove that. And then we will probably just leave the table rails assembled. So as you can guess, these linear rails are unforgiving of alignment issues. We do have some float built into the bearings on this side, so it's not super critical, but you don't want to be wildly off. On a machine this small, the easy way to do it is going to be to take this rectangular frame with the 2 rails and 2 cross pieces just off and ship it like that. And we can even leave the table on. It makes for a little bit of a big skid, but for such a small machine, it'll make for a much easier assembly for the customer. The wiring, all in here, that's all matched up. And I believe that's all my talking points. Oh, one minor thing. This machine has a laser on it right now. The customer didn't pay for it, they don't get it. I'm gonna put it on my next machine. If you have any questions, please feel free to call us at Forest Manufacturing. Thank you.